Hello and welcome to my Soma tutorial. In this tutorial I will explain how the level editor works for Soma. First you have to enter in the Soma's install directory, which is in Steam, Steam Apps, Common, Soma. And there you will find the level editor.exe. You have to open this. When you start the editor, the first thing you will see are the four big display windows. You can highlight each one of them with a mouse, and you can enlarge one of them by pressing space, or space again, or this button on the bottom of the screen. The first two display windows are front, left, top, and perspective. We will be mostly using the top and perspective views. So let us choose the perspective view first. In order to control the camera, you have to use the mouse and the Alt key. By using the mouse wheel, you can zoom in and zoom out. Leftmost button, you can select multiple objects. And in order to move the camera, you must hold down the Alt button. Once you do that, holding the left mouse button will rotate the camera around the point of focus. Holding the middle mouse button will move the camera throughout the game world. And holding the right mouse button will change the zoom level. There are multiple buttons on the left. Each one selects the current tool being in use. The first tool is the select tools, and you use it to select objects. Depending on what tool you have selected, the context menu on the right will change. We also have lights, light masks, billboards, flares, particle systems, sounds, and so on. So let us place some static objects. You can see that the context menu on the right has changed. We have a list of various folders which have static objects within them. So let us place something from station and walls. Let's place a wall. Let's try with this one. You can place objects like this. You can hold the left click button in order to move it around, and you can see that it snaps to the grid. You can delete objects by pressing delete. Besides the context menu, you also have at the bottom of the screen grid menu. You can cycle through the planes the grid is being drawn on, but usually you will be using XZ. You can enable or disable grid snapping. Assuming you select an object, you can move it without grid snapping or with grid snapping. To move an object, you have to select it, and you will have 3 available axes to move it on. To move the object, you have to press on Q. If you press on W, you will be able to rotate the object on different axes, but you can also do this from the static object menu or the general tab. And you can also scale an object. Let us reset it. You can toggle. By pressing X, you can toggle grid snapping, and that not only works with moving an object, but also with rotating it and scaling it. Though generally it is recommended to use grid snapping for walls and other objects. The grid height determines where on the game world you will place objects. You can always use Ctrl Z and Ctrl Y in order to undo or redo actions. And if you select an object and move away from it, you can press F to focus on it, and it will also bring the height to the object's height, which you can see in its general tab. Static objects also have another specific tab with several options. Snap separation is another very useful tool. You can change it to 1, and assuming you have snap separation enabled, you can basically move the object around easier.
We should save the map often.
So save it into mods and create a new folder, test map, and save it as whatever name you want. It's usually recommended to save often because there are several ways that the editor can crash, especially if you use terrain, static object batches, or combos. You can usually press Ctrl D to duplicate objects. And snapping helps. Without snapping, it will be more difficult to actually match objects so that they match up. Yeah. But you usually can also have snap separation as small as 0.25 or 0.125 is the smallest usable one, and it's really good for doing small details, especially if you have objects with different scales or when placing walls in a room and they don't exactly line up. You also have clip planes. This option is used to hide specific areas of the map in the editor, like if you want to create something in a room that is beneath another room, and you want to see that without being hindered by the objects above. So let us create a new clip plane on the XZ axis and bring the height a bit up. You can always enable or disable this here. Plus adds a new one, minus deletes the current one. So this is the basic interface tutorial. Stay tuned for the next tutorial in which I will show you how to create a simple room and how to place objects, various types of objects such as static objects, entities, and detail meshes.